as you may know, she has already posted a different map on their website. It includes more zip codes that are going to be treated in the new policy that they had announced last month. They indicated to us that this is a temporary solution. I think underlying all of this is the need for volunteers. And if there's one united message that we left that meeting with, it's to let people know that the Red Cross needs volunteers to come to these fire locations, because it is the Red Cross's national policy to have it take place ideally at the scene of the fire. And so it's going to require more volunteers to have that happen. And that's something that we're committed to working with the Red Cross. But I think in terms of the city itself, as I indicated to her, I go to every single part of the city. And in every single part of the city, I find really good people and people who would be willing to help out a neighbor in need. And part of the challenge here is for Red Cross to reach those neighborhoods where these fires are taking place and find the individuals in those neighborhoods that are willing to step forward. And I think that's going to change a little, that's going to require a little change in thinking and action for the Red Cross. So it was a very open, candid conversation. I would say it was a good conversation, but I think we agreed that there's more work that needs to be done.
What can you say about the perception of this change by the public? It seems like everybody felt that the Red Cross may have been afraid to go into black communities behind this. I mean, why was there that perception with this?
Well, I think when people looked at the map as to the areas that were not being served, I think that raised questions. And she assured us that that was not their intent, that this was a volunteer issue. But I understand the need to have people from these neighborhoods be part of the solution as well. And that's why I stressed to her that, look, you can find good people in all of these neighborhoods who will be willing to step forward to help others in the time of need. And you can work through the churches, you can work through community groups, you can certainly work with our Office of Violence Prevention, and we'll help you get those volunteers. So what we wanted to get across to her is, look, you can serve these areas. It may take a change in thinking and a change in approach, but that's something that I think any organization has to be willing to be flexible to do.
Regardless of the reasons for the change, that initial policy of having the 10 zip codes where there'd no longer be the on-site response, was there concern from your perspective that the Red Cross was sending a message that victims would be treated differently?
Absolutely, yes. That was a concern, and I think others had that concern as well. She assured us that that was not the intent, but we want to make sure that people are being treated the same, regardless of where they live, and that's something that's important to me.
Did you specifically mention racism concerns to her? Obviously, that came up a lot in the response.
Well, the issue of race came up, not necessarily racism, but the issue of race certainly came up, and the need to make sure that low-income people who are the victims of fires, that they also receive the same treatment that others receive. And that's something that's important to me. That's something that's important to a lot of people in the public, that if you have a family in the central city that's a victim of a fire, that they need to have the same response that a family's going to get in an outlying area. That's something that's very important to me.
How important is on-site response to the victims, regardless of race? How important is it to have?
Well, that was one of the parts of the conversation that we had, and she felt that the new policy that they had started implementing was well received. That remains to be seen, but she felt that those who had received the benefits did not feel that there was in any way a lessening of benefits. I want to make sure that that's true, but again, I don't want a separate but equal policy here. I want to make sure that you're getting the same treatment for all individuals throughout this entire metropolitan area.
Is the new map they described, is it more white areas, more rural
I
areas?
have not seen it, but it's my understanding that it's more suburban areas. That's my understanding. She indicated that in rural parts of the state, they already have a system where they use phone triage if the volunteers are more than an hour away. The national policy is that the volunteers have to get there within 2 hours, obviously in an urban area. And this is one of the things we talked about, is that within 2 hours, the fire department many times has already gone from the scene. And so one of the concerns that we talked about was if you have a fire and the fire department comes in and does its job very, very quickly, they may not even be on the scene by the time the volunteers get there. And the concerns that that raised. So there's some practical implications here, but I'm looking at this as an opportunity. I'm looking at this as an opportunity to, first of all, find more volunteers. Second, to work with our other agencies that serve the city, whether it's the Salvation Army, whether it's our Office of Violence Prevention, whether it's the work we do with the county for trauma-informed care, to see how we can better coordinate all of those responses so that the victims, and I stress this over and over again, the focus should be on the victims of these fires and how we can best serve them.
Did the Red Cross indicate in the meeting today that there had been incidents that involved volunteers that precipitated the initial change?
I did not get the impression that there were incidents that directly involved individuals that are volunteering. I think that driving to them, they may have witnessed things or seen things, but she did not indicate any volunteers had been adversely affected directly.
And with
Last question.
With the fire at 21st and Concordia on the 28th, obviously a terrible tragedy. One of those families had to go through this new policy, go to a police station to try and see them. Never got in touch with the Red Cross, still haven't been in touch with the Red Cross. Was that discussed, how this family was?
That did not come up, and again, my understanding is that they're attempting to reach the individuals. I don't know what happened in that specific one, but I will certainly follow up on that and see what happened there.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay? All right, thank you all very much.